The Burnley faithful getting fed up of Scott Parker ball. Well, if you read social media, it certainly suggests so. Robert says 9 shots on target in total against Portsmouth, Plymouth, Oxford and Preston. Total. And some of those are dubious. Not good enough by a mile. Cocker says a yawn fest, tedious, slow, negative. I'd like to remind this club is supposed to be an entertainment sport. Here to discuss that, we have, of course, got Dan, who is going to give his view on whether it's Scott Parker who's going to be stopping Burnley get promoted. Not Leeds, not Sheffield United, but Parker himself. What's your view? Welcome to Where Clarets Walk. Welcome back. 20 minutes of Burnley chat. And on this particular episode, of course, we're also going to be looking back at that Preston game. We're also talking to Dan about what the atmosphere has been like at Turf Moor, whether that's holding some of the players back, and what's the earliest you've ever left a Burnley game, and see if you can beat this time given by one of our Sunderland fans across the other side of our network. Right, Dan, let's ask the big question then. Is Scott Parker holding this side back?
Possibly is the honest answer. Everyone keeps telling us these players are good players. We've talked about it ourselves. We've bought decent, Loren, good at this level. Whoever at Foster was good, and we're just not achieving the levels. I know Parker keeps excusing it. We've only been together 6 weeks, things like that. When you hear his post-match press conferences, he keeps saying, "Oh well, it's a fresh team, etc., etc." But it's just so. I agree with what you said in the opening statement. It's so pedestrian. It's so slow. The other teams are setting up to break. 10 men behind the ball will catch us on the break, and when they do catch us on the break, we get the ball, and instead of passing it forward and what have you, it's backwards, and by then they've regrouped and got 10. So possibly he is.
There's a selection of tweets we could have selected this week, but RC's Scott Parker football is everything I feared. It's abysmal. That another poor performance. Parker needs to sort this out. We are not convincing at all. How does he sort it out though, Dan? Because you've got the players to be playing more dynamically, haven't you? You've got the most exciting forwards possibly out of the whole league, but they're not being utilised in the right way, are we?
Not at all, no. We're playing the ball, yes, possession football, fantastic. And then we go down the wing and we either cut it back low and behind everybody, or we cross it into no one. There's only Foster who's in there on his own. It's got to be 100% accurate ball in, which you're never going to do, or it's a lucky ball that comes in. It's great build-up play, but it's great passing, pressing and what have you, but there's just no end product. We go down the wing, we then bring it back, invariably corners, go back to Trafford. It's crazy. I'm a season ticket holder, as you're aware. Went on against Plymouth, came off we'd won, but come off feeling depressed. Go on against Preston, and we faltered to a 0-0 draw. And you just wonder, you're scratching your head saying, what's it? What does he need to change? He's got the tools, just make him play better. And we were warned by Bournemouth fans and Fulham fans saying he's hard work, it's boring football. Unfortunately, we thought he'd gone away to Italy for a year and it changed it. Obviously not.
You went to Leeds, didn't you, and got a result playing exactly that way. That's away at Leeds. This is, like you say, you don't play it at home against Portsmouth, Plymouth and Preston in that same vein. But it does seem to be no risk football is what I'm seeing.
Unbelievable. You've hit the nail on the head. We've played, correct me if I'm wrong, but all 3 promoted teams pretty much one after the other. We've got Portsmouth, Plymouth, Oxford was in there as well. We scored 1, which were a penalty. That's it, and it's just, we should be really putting these teams to the sword. We've got the players to do it. Yet he won't. It's so safe. If there's a half 50-50 ball on, which could put us in a decent attacking position, or there's an easy pass backwards, every time you know where it's going. There was only twice on Saturday where we tried, and it was Perez, our left back, who a lot of people don't like. He played the only ball in, which was a bit more dynamic, plays in Anthony, he skips past one there, keeper makes a save. Saban, except for that, I'm scratching my head to think of any other time that we played advancing football. It was just boring. You know, it's safe. We didn't lose. We could have done, but we didn't.
All right. Let's have a look at some other player criticisms. Robert says, absolute drivel again. Can't fathom Parker's tactics. Koleosho is the most overrated player we've had for many a year. Foster is not a number 9. Anthony and Sarmiento have no end product. Egan Riley makes me nervous. And Company's team of 2 years ago would wipe the floor with this lot. Crikey, where do we start with all of that? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with on there, Dan?
I disagree with Koleosho. I think he is a good player. I think he's got the talent and the ability. The difficulty comes, and when we were asked last week who's the one to look out for, we all said Koleosho, he's our threat. So they put 3 men on him. He can't beat 3 men. Not many people can. So you take him out of the game, then all of a sudden that kind of more attacking threat disappears. I think Foster, he's just having a bad start. He's out of confidence. He's out of form. You know, he's probably out of sorts for whatever reason. He needs a goal. One off his backside will just get him, moving again. I agree, Egan Riley. I don't think he should be in the team. I understand we've got injuries and suspensions and whatever else. I just don't. I appreciate he's not first choice, and he's there to do a job, and he's been doing a job. But for me, he does. I agree with that one. Anthony Sarmiento. I think Sarmiento gets 20 minutes a game. He's not had a full run at it yet. Give the guy a chance, and when he does, he scored one. Anthony scored one, I think, as well. I think those two, the jury's out. I don't necessarily agree with that just yet. I think they need more time, more football. And, like I say, if we come to the Christmas or the New Year and we're still having the same conversations, then, yeah, possibly he might have a point. But I think it's probably a bit early on that one. But, it is difficult, because they're just not playing to their potential. And you're coming off, and it's not just me. People might think I'm being too negative. But you're coming off, you're hearing other fans saying, this is just dross. It's entertainment. You pay however much to go on. And win or lose, don't get me wrong, you prefer to win or draw, don't get me wrong. But you just come off thinking that, 2 hours, I'm just never going to get back.
Okay. You knew this next question was coming, but were Preston hard done by?
Yeah. It kind of evened it out later on in the game. I think Brady had a handful of Anthony's shirt, could have been a penalty, but that's a terrible decision. Where I sit, I'm not at that angle. I'm further near the halfway line, so I couldn't tell at the time. But the buzz was it was a bad decision, and the referee, I think, made bad decisions for the rest of the game. He was poor. He'd lost the game, but yeah, I think Preston. I saw that. What's he called? Their manager.
Heckingbottom.
Name escapes. Heckingbottom, sorry. He came out afterwards and said, we've been done out of 3 points there. We score that goal. It's a different game. Give it a rest, pal. It was 4 minutes in, as the game progressed. Yeah, okay, you might have said, they could have been hard done to. They were. It should have been a goal. It should have stood. But, to go on and say, well, that changes. It does change the dynamic of the game. But if they score that, it's no guarantees after the next 90 minutes they're going to stick onto it. So, yes, they're hard done to. They should have been 1-0 up. But would that have made the game 1-0 to them? If it had panned out the way it did, then, yeah, clearly they would have done.
Okay. All right, we'll leave Preston there then for a second. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. We are hoping to get over 50. 75 would be great. We know there's other Burnley content, but we've got lots of Burnley guests to review all Burnley's games. You're still being predicted to win the championship by many. But I want to ask you about the atmosphere at Turf Moor, because we're having a lot of... There's also commentary at the moment about how quiet some stadiums are, how the championship perhaps isn't this exciting perhaps as it once was, which I don't buy into. I think this is probably going to be the most exciting and close seasons we've had for a while. Mm. But what is happening at Turf Moor at the moment in terms of atmosphere? Is it? You mentioned that it's not enjoyable to watch. Is that having a knock-on impact on the atmosphere?
Yeah, I think it is. It was rocking when against Blackburn, it was a decent atmosphere. But in the year that we're in the championship under Company, we were playing exciting football. Some games were close, other games we were hammering them, and it was a good atmosphere. I might be thinking back with rose-tinted glasses or whatever you want to call it, but this year, because the football's so turgid and it's such dross, that it instantly causes the stadium to go flat, and you've nothing to get excited. There's not even a burst of play where you can get behind them. So, go on, that were close, what have you, and then it gets them going. The only time we started getting going on Saturday was when Brownhill decided to try and have a to-do with one of their players, and then there was another incident a few minutes afterwards. We start off singing, but then after that, every single team that's come to Turf Moor this season has started singing that football in a library, albeit they can't pronounce library, most of them. But anyway, so, it is a flat atmosphere. Now, how you alter that, I'm not sure. I think the fans reflect whatever's on the pitch. If the pitch is exciting, you'll get better atmosphere. But then the players are saying, well, we're nervous on the pitch because you guys aren't behind us. There was a time on Saturday we booed them, and at full time we were booed as well. Now, whether that was at the ref or whether it was at the players or whether it was both, I'm not sure. So, I mean, the club's solution, as every Burnley fan will know, is get a drum. I'm not sure that's the way forward. There are pockets of singing and support for them. And, there are, we have put up with a lot. But I will say, we put up with more under Company than we have done with Parker. Certainly, I know Company he earned that time because he did so well in the Championship. When we start playing poorly in the Premier League, we didn't turn on him as quick. With Parker, it seems to be turning on him much quicker. And yet he's lost one. I think we're third. We're a point off the top. So I think maybe we all need a bit of a reality check that, the situation the club's in, but certainly the atmosphere it's not toxic. It's just non-existent.
Okay. All right. Let us know what you think about it in the comments below. And next week, of course, you're off to Hillsborough, which is famous for its atmosphere. So we'll be reviewing that next week. Please join us then. Thank you very much for now, Dan. We'll see you on the other side of the international break. Cheers, fella.